So you're welcome to Candid Conversations. This is where we get to talk to veteran broadcasters, renowned broadcasters, people who have been in the business for years. So we're looking at what it was yesterday, we're looking at today, and what it's likely to be tomorrow. So this morning we're joined by Mr. Seyi Martins, the man who is known as the only Martins on Martin Street. And I'm hoping we'll get to hear the stories, all of the stories about that place, 45 Martin Street in Lagos. You're welcome to Candid Conversations.
My pleasure.
And I'm here with my colleagues, Pelu, our professor, Charles Kami, and Choice Udensi. So this is the team of the Daily Report, and we thank you for having us in your home.
My pleasure always. My pleasure always.
So let's start out with your assessment of what it is today when we talk about broadcast journalism. What is your honest assessment?
We are going to get better. We are going to get better. Why do I say this? Before now, you learn by watching, listening, reading, and just do what your supervisors, what they have apportioned to you to do. There was something called double banking in the old days. When you come out of training, they put you on to double bank with someone. And you just watch that person, and that can go on for between 3 to 6 months. You may not say one word within that 6 months period after you left training school. And all they're looking for is how much you've been able to grasp, because you're expected to watch how the news was read, listen, all kind of multitasking while he was reading. You are cueing music just in case something goes wrong. All of your 6 senses, the one made by God and the one you create by yourself, because broadcasters are meant to create senses. When something goes wrong, the man outside does not need to know that something went wrong. So you must have the agility and enough presence of mind to take care of that moment of anomaly. So that's why you're meant to watch and learn from what today people say elders. It's a wrong connotation in our old setting, because I remember I had to do a program once with my boss, my Oga Ikenna Ndaguba, and I had to call him Ikenna. And I was so frightened. I didn't know how to say, with me today is Ikenna Ndaguba. It didn't sound right. And he said, that's me. That's the way this job is. So it's your first name when the program is on, at the time of introduction, which is the first thing you do, unlike these days, that we had to put a prefix to everything. So Ogaship became something big, that you can't sit with your Oga and talk like a colleague, and just be yourselves and let the program flow. So it was such a wonderful period. Those things you were meant to learn, they don't teach you in the training school. You learn by watching, by double banking with your senior.
You learn on the job.
On the job. No matter what capability you come with from whatever college, you will have to learn the rudiments of the job on the job. In the old days, people who came with degrees from University of Ibadan, Ralph Okpara, quite a number of them started from the scratch. They had to learn from people who didn't even go to university at all. So these days, I mean, you find somebody coming and tells you, oh, I got my master's degree in, okay, now, it's all right. Yeah, you've known all the textbooks and what the textbook tells you to do. But on the job, when you switch on that microphone, what you need to know, you have to learn on the job. And that was how it was. That was how we grew up. That was the way we were taught. You have to multitask all the time. Your brains, your attitude, everything about you must be completely dedicated. There used to be this norm then, the rule of thumb. No matter how ill, how sick, how angry, how anything you may be, the moment you come into the studio, leave all of those feelings, all of those sentiments behind the door. That was the way we were taught. And these days, we tend to learn everything in a classroom. And what you learn in the classroom is what people bring onto on air. That is, the book is the authority. The book is all of it. The certificate is what makes me proficient and all of that. Unfortunately, that's what we tend to say. People come from school, they got all the capability, and they come to us and say, yeah, you know, and quote all the nice things that we all know about. So we try to change that. But you have to flow with the time as well. The change is not that we're not going to allow them to do what they have learned. No. We have to put it in perspective. That look, this is a job from time immemorial. People listen to you. And they expect you to be factual. Because there are only two ways about radio and television broadcasting. Is it the truth? Is it what you say? What comes out of you? That is what people believe, because they're not seeing you, particularly on radio. So it's such a blind, like we say, blind medium, which today has changed because all of us have cameras in the studios now. So your emotion can show from your body language. Before then, no. Radio was gospel.
Tell us about some of the things that you've heard, you know, from some of the radio stations that you have listened to. You don't have to mention names. But let's know, what do you think about quality? What do you think about substance? What do you think that people can get to do right?
Absolutely very average. Absolutely average. Why do I say this? Now licenses are given to money bags. Essentially, you find that businessmen, politicians are those who have licenses, and they expect, because they are from business background, they expect to make money, on their investments. So those of them that have the license just cower people in. Oh, you've done it before. You read mass comm. Oh, you read English. That's it. As if that's all it takes to be on the medium. Quality has depreciated a great deal because the quality of training has taken away the old essence of reliability. You can't pass an audition if they can't rely on you to hold the microphone. And it's not every one of us, including all those who've gone through the training, that are able to hold the microphone. That is presence of the microphone. The mere thought that you're talking to 1,000,001 person can get you so jittery, and you find somebody flaunting on, things that are almost, like you will say, normal. And they start here and there, and you'll see people waffling because they know they are talking not only to their friends, which is usually the first thing you see these days and you hear. Most broadcasters aggregate themselves to what their friends feel about them. Oh, you were terrific today. I love the music. I love your show and all. That's it. But those listenership included your dad, your mom, your bishop, your imam, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria sometimes, and most times those who are supposed to make or mar your life. So every one of these people are listening to you. So that reactionary presence of mind in front of a microphone is missing. It's missing in our training. There was a gentleman when we were growing up in the business that came and was, is this what you're giving us for audition? That's what we do, sir. He has master's degree. He's been here, he's been there, but he just believes all his life he needed to do radio. They gave him a script, and he saw the name Animation, and he said Animation. People was somersaulting at the back of a window, and you will say to him, calm down, look at it properly, rehearse it very well. Yes, I have done so. And for 3 times, he made the same mistake. Animation, as if Nigerian names are anglicized, the way it was spelt. So when you corrected him, he thought, no, did I say something different? Please, let me put stresses, maybe Yoruba stresses on it. Here is a Yoruba man that was speaking, that called animation, animation. And these are some of the things you find these days. I have a Toby that will pronounce her surname, a Yoruba surname, anglicized. And you want somebody who is coming from England, for instance, to say, oh, that's your name. How are you? First and foremost, I'll tell you, no, that's not my name. If you can call Yamasuko or Kosomoto, a Japanese name, properly, the way it is meant to be pronounced, you better pronounce our African names properly. There was so much emphasis. How dare you tell Peju Alade that you cannot pronounce an Igbo name, or a Hausa name, or a Fulani, Izon, all of those names. You can't pass the presentation training without passing Nigerian names. If you don't get it right, you are not going to go through. That was the training we had. Stella Awani will not even look at your face. How could you say that? I once made a nasty, innocent statement by saying I would like to speak Calabar. You don't want to believe how many people came at me in the studio. Oh, I love the language Calabar. Is Calabar a language? I almost got suspended on air for saying I want to speak Calabar. It's ethic. It's Izon, the Ijo people. And those things we were taught. You had to listen to how these things were done. And when we started way back, there used to be news in 9 Nigerian languages. Yoruba will be the last one. We had Fufu Day, Kanuri, all those. Immediately at 9 o'clock in the morning, everybody was made to do that shift so that you hear pronunciation of names and words and all of those things. And we had in fact, he was an Oyinbo man who was translating English to Yoruba, English to Fufu Day, a per Emden in those days. God rest his soul. All these beautiful people. We had, what's his name? Our Oyinbo man, Pai Mecca, and all those lovely people. They would have done translation. So you were meant to go to such people to ask the correctness of a name before you go on air.
All right, so let's go back now, way back in time. Can you remember your very first time on air?
Accident.
As a broadcaster?
My goodness, yes. Oh dear God. I was working with Sonny Rabo, and it was on a night shift. Then at about 7 o'clock, we used to have the news panorama. The program was on. Sonny had quickly gone downstairs to cut a job. As it's usually the time that people will come, can you quickly do this recording for me? For some reason, it was taking longer than expected. I was double banking. It was my third month or so after training. And 28 minutes past, news panorama ended. Normally it ends 29:40, so that you have just about 20 seconds to welcome people back and go on. So it ended at 28 minutes. There was no Sonny Rabo. And the man on the console, then we had studio managers, just pointed to me, Seyi, go ahead. I said, no, it's Sonny that will talk with me. I'm not allowed to. He said, what do you mean? Sonny is not here. So I dropped the microphone and said, this is Radio Nigeria. We welcome you back from the network service, from News Panorama, and I started trailing the next program, which I will write my trail of what comes next at 7:30, and of course 2 other programs after. That is 3 trails you must write. What Sonny wrote was sitting there. He will write his, I wrote mine. That was the training. You see him, he's not going to tell you to write. It was because of that kind of accident, just in case. So I took my rubbish script and read out the intro to the next program that will be coming on. It wasn't the first one I did. I had to go from what I see people do then. It's not, you're not talking about the next program immediately. So you have to talk about the ones after and the ones coming on next at 9 o'clock. So I did those 2 very quickly and then talked into the next program at 7:30 and just introduced it from the inflow. It was such, I had died. My psyche, everything was gone. I didn't know Mr. Sonny Young Harry was still in his office, who was, call it the Deputy Director General at the time. And who is that voice? He came down to see Sonny was still in the studio downstairs and rushed up. He couldn't get in because the doors were shut and I had done this introduction. Oh, young man, what's your name? I couldn't talk because I was still in shock whether I did it right or not. And he said, That was a wonderful introduction. Oh my God. I just fell down and it was like farting on yourself. I did well. Did I do well, sir? You know, asking the deputy director general, did I do well, sir? So yeah, that was a very interesting introduction. Did you write that, or it was Sonny? I wrote mine, and this was mine, sir. I said, oh, very good. And he went away. Not knowing Sonny Rabo was standing right behind him when Mr. Sonny Young Harry came into the studio. So Sonny said, is that... They have a way of joking with these old people. So I can allow him to, give him some stuff and, stuff like that. The only thing I didn't do on my first day was to read the news summary. But that night, I was made to introduce every program until midnight.
Do you remember the day, the year?
This was 1979, April 1979. Nigeria was preparing for elections.
That year.
And we had so many programs and jingle towards that preparation. The sensitivity of it, from the transition from military to civil rule, was so heavy that you cannot afford to make a mistake. You cannot afford to put a rookie on air. And that was it. So Sonny was there with me, but he made me to do some work here and there.
Were you double banking at that time?
But I was double banking, yes. I mean, I've been out of training school barely a month. It was just precisely 3 weeks after training school. Because then, how dare you come on air 1-2 months after training school? I mean, even if you're a superstar, it's not done. But because a big man gave me a pass mark one night, so he made me do that pile of work that night. And that was my first day. It didn't mean I came on air the next week or the next month. I still double banked for precisely over 3 months before I came on air again.
So let's talk about some of the programs that you presented. Which was, the most important for you? Which one do you remember?
There were so many. I used to love the national radio. Then, because it was from national radio that I was transferred to Martin Street.
Okay.
And with national radio, you heard all over Nigeria. Then you can exercise the dexterity of language and names. And in my course group, I was the best in Nigerian languages, Nigerian names, so to speak. So I used to love to want to play with, show that. And there were so many programs then that we used to have Window on the World. Window on the World was that kind of program that tells the story of your world, Lagos, starting from Lagos, various parts of Nigeria, where you go to Kaura, Namoda, from Bauchi in Yankari and all of those places. When you go to Sokoto, this is what is being done there. I loved those programs because they will think you were part of it and you were in there. People would have recorded bits and send and package together. These are what producers do. And ours was just to interpret all of those things. I loved Window on the World so much that even when you're on leave, you still come around to do that I think it was on Thursday, if I remember. And it was one of those programs that got you into every bit of Nigeria where the tourism industry, I almost said had been killed, were thriving in those days. When you talk about Yankari, if we're in Yankari today in Bauchi, I visited Yankari as a student in secondary school. And coming to talk about Yankari in my professional life, it was reliving your younger days and the excitement, and everything just came alive. It was such a wonderful experience. It was unbelievable. So when you talk about Sokoto, I have driven from Lagos, 3 of us, from the station, without telling anybody at home. We drove to Sokoto just to go and see the Daba. We went to Kaduna, things like that. We did crazy things then. I mean, it was fun. So when you come home to do a program like that, it seemed like you were part of the locals when it was being done. I went to Arondezogo when K.O. Mbadiwe was opening a girls' hostel, a nurses' hostel. And we had Oba Adeyinka Oyekon, who was his friend for many years, coming to open a nurses' hostel in Arondezogo. And we just had and went there. And you had to talk about the people and how these older men, use words, language to describe the love for women, which is why Kabiesi came, was asked to come and, be the one to cut the tape in Arondezogo. And I'm coming from a radio station in Lagos. I wasn't invited, but I took all the ambience, recording, just to be there. So those are the things we used to do in those days. And it's not just me. Most of us were like that. You go to River State and you watch the regatta. All of these things. Nigeria was a good place to travel.
So what happened? How did it all change?
I don't know. How did we get here?
That's the question.
I don't know. I have prayed, I have asked God, and God refused to answer. Because the only inclination we get is when you ask, how did we get here? What happened to us? Is for us to go within ourselves again and ask the question, what did we do wrong? What must we do right? It's left to us, the people. We, the people, are the ones that tolerated the wrongness. We accepted oddities as normal, and normalcy became a thing of the past. It's we, the people. And a lot of people do have problems with me saying, oh, the Tattoo Imbo man has come again. He's always thinking about, yeah, unfortunately, I've spent a great deal of time away. And where I went, where I had been, studied, school, worked, it was, nobody comes to talk to us like they're going to give us water as an electoral, you know what. And I, as a broadcaster, will sit in front of a politician and I can't ask him, do you tell your people you can provide water, or you're going to provide water for them? Because we keep talking, potable water in the year 2020. 2020 don't come. What next? That is where we are. So we must go into ourselves again. It's we the people, it's not the government. We blame government for everything. I used to say, when I just came, that I don't do government, so I don't like talking about government. And I still maintain it. I just don't do government. It's we, the people, that must reorientate ourselves and bring back the good old days. Because whether we like it or not, as bad as it is today, may become the good old days. for our children. And they'll start wondering, oh, when I was growing up, it was wonderful. We knew it was deadly right now. But it's going to be good old days if we don't change things.
All right, let's look at you as a junior announcer then.
As of
you got a presidential commendation. Can you remember the event that
Oh.
from that, position of a junior announcer to a senior announcer? Can you release those moments?
Yes, I was working with late Gabriel Otaru, and it was a Saturday shift, morning. We had gone to pick Gabriel, and he had been to a party, a bachelor's eve the night before, and he said, oh, I'll meet you by 7 o'clock. You may go. You go and open the station. So we went, got to the station. I had another double bank. Two of us were double banking. Myself and Ike Imokwede. Ike Imokwede was junior to me. He had just come through the training, and I was the middle person. Gabriel Otaru was senior, and I could read the news then and all of that. It was exactly 2 minutes past 6 in the morning, and I was on the story. The Vice President, Dr. Alex Ekweme, has just, and I just saw the door flung open, and there was 2 soldiers sweating fiercely and just came boo, boo, boo. But I couldn't look to my right where the studio managers were, because all I saw was soldiers coming into the studio. Live studio during the news. Ike was rehearsing the editorials for me, the newspaper editorials. And we had a newsman. I can't remember his name now, but he was very known at that time as ABC. ABC was handwriting the editorials. And Ike was rehearsing for me so that I would just pick it up and sight read. Make sure no mistakes and all of that. So when the soldiers came, the guy just came straight at me. And I turned up. The next thing I saw was the butt of a gun hitting me straight on my shoulder. And that broke my collarbone. So as I was falling, instinctively, I switched off the override. The microphone was still on. We had 2 buttons in the studio. One red and the other black. The black is the live microphone, and the red is the override. The override cuts off the transmitting station at Shogunle. You can hear everything going on in the studio, but it doesn't go on air. Because the override was off, the soldiers just came, me on the ground, trying to pick up myself. I didn't even feel the pain. Ike had gone to the corner. We didn't know where ABC went, but I didn't see him go through the door. Until I die, I will keep saying that ABC never went through the door, because those people have experienced coups in Radio Nigeria too many times. He just disappeared. So I saw this soldier. We, the junior officers of the Nigerian Army and the Armed Forces of the Nigerian Federal Republic of Nigeria, have decided. I said, it's a coup. I just boom, first to the glass and to the door. I just disappeared and ran out. I couldn't go because the other soldier, before he could get to where Ike was, Ike had bailed out of the studio. So I was alone with them. I said, yes, we've always heard about this. And the only thing to tell you, keep calm, listen to instructions, and do what they say. The one word that was not there was exactly what they say. I pride myself as a barrack boy, and I always say that on air. I looked at the soldiers, I could see panic. I wasn't sure whether they are officers but half of what the guy read, I didn't hear and where are your martial music? We don't keep martial music in the studio. Go and get them. This is an opportunity for me to run away. And I just thought, nah, I'm not going to run from these people. What exactly did you say? Will you get me martial music? I said, it's in the library. It's locked now. We need to go to the control room to get it. At that time, everybody had run away from they've gone into the cemetery, which is usually the place when it happens. I mean, people dive into graves to avoid bullets coming at them. So many people usually die when there is a coup like that. I mean, bullet flies all over the place. So I went into the control room to pick up the key to the library. And I remembered the telephone, the unbelievably red telephone that used to be there. Nobody touches it except in an emergency like that. So when you pick up, it doesn't have a dial. It was one of those telephones that it just rings, you pick up, or you pick it up and somebody will. So we were told then in training that once you pick up that telephone, you will hear a voice that would ask you, where are they? Where are the soldiers? If anybody is there with you and all that. We were told, whether rightly or falsely, that telephone goes to the State House in Dorden Barracks, and the other one to the Director General's house. The Director General then was now Bishop George Bako. So I heard his voice, and this other gentleman, there were two people on the phone, saying, just make yourself safe. What have they asked you to do? They asked me to go and get martial music. And Dr. Bako said, George Bako at that time said, do you know where they are? I said, I have an idea, sir. Okay. Just about then, you try as much as possible. How many people did you see? I said, there are soldiers on the corridor and the people downstairs, the soldiers downstairs, you know, and when I was coming down to the control room. Okay, I dropped the phone. It was like an insignificant play phone just there. So I took the key to the library, went into the library. I saw martial music, all right. But something in me just said, just take a classical music. Just take a classical music. And I picked up Toccata in Fugue in D major. It's a Bach piano arrangement, but it's fast music. And I just went upstairs, not knowing where these people will be, got into the studio and said, you got the martial music? I said, yes. And I put the thing on, and they gave me the script to read. I didn't know how I got the courage. And I said to this man, you can't stand in front of the microphone. You won't hear us. I knew the override was still down. I was so afraid because you mess about, they'll shoot you there on the spot. It's execution, instantly. I didn't know what came over me. They gave me the script they have read that didn't go out. And I was supposed to read that script for them so that everyone will hear it. On that day, the 21st of May, 24th of May, 1981. This is 1 or 80, one of those years. The progressive governors were meeting in Yola. 13 of them, with Chief Obafemi Awolowo. If that announcement had gone out, they would all have been slaughtered. 24th of May, I think it was 1980. 1980. The certificate is somewhere in there. Every one of the 13 progressive governors were meeting in Yola. They were to be slaughtered. Had that announcement gone out? Somebody said among the soldiers, the president would have been taken care of with the announcement that went out. That was all I heard. And just me between all these soldiers. So I put on Toccata and Fugue in D major. The guy just said, yes. Now we can be rest assured things are going on the way we wanted it. I just thought, are these people this foolish? You don't know the difference between classical music and whatever. I'm not going to put on the override. So I read the thing to them. It was those of us in the studio that heard it. It didn't go out. Meantime, we've had dead air for about 12 minutes. And the minimum you're allowed to have dead air was 20 seconds. In our day, 20 seconds. If there's nothing in 20 seconds, you go on, by the 30th second, you'll be suspended. Dead air. So we managed to get these people excited. So I said, oh, everything you want has been done. No problem, sir. Are you sure? I said, no problem. I said, okay. Now, what do I need? Show me, where is the control room? You didn't know the control room? Okay. I'll show you the control room. The moment I went out, the backup from Durham Barracks had come in. They've been arresting all the soldiers, and there you just see people in Agbada, and underneath the Agbada were, in fact, you can call it a ferret, the real thing, just in case there were resistance and all of that. And they came. They didn't know whether I was part of them. At least it's telephone, so whether nobody cares. If there had been a crossfire, I would have been a gunner. So these people were arrested quietly, surreptitiously came, arrested, the soldiers arrested those who were on ground, and even those who were at the gates, all of them were picked up like that, and breathed a sign of relief. Toccata and Fugue played on, even though it wasn't going out for a long time. Then, at about the 15th minute or so, I put on the override. The music continued until 5 minutes to 7. By which time the Director General had come with so many other bigwigs, officers, young Harry, Mrs. Marie Kefe, late, came to the studio. Who is that boy? Who is that whatever? Don't harass him. Don't ask him too many questions. And they came, and the DG just said, well done, you have done well. You have done well. Did you see the people who came in to take the soldiers away? I don't think I've still composed mentis at that hour to remember anyone.
How was your shoulder?
I didn't feel any pain.
At that time?
No. I didn't feel any pain. It was later that day that I realized I had broken my shoulder, a part of my shoulder blade, or the scapula, I think it was. So said, okay, what level are you? We had just gone through, we were in level 5 then. So I was promoted to civil service. I was given 8, while all, you know, you had to go through 5 to 6, then, so I was given level 8. It still didn't mean anything. So I went. The next thing, they called the DG that they needed to see the young man, that the NSO had come. And Mrs. Marie Kefe said, what? Just took me straight to where would they go and look for this boy that they won't find him. She decided to take me to Sonny Rabo's flat and hid me in Sonny Rabo's kitchen, not in his bedroom, in Sonny Rabo's kitchen. Then I was crouching under the kitchen door, you know those whatever you call it, where you put your pots and pans. They took it out, and I was crouching in there for about 4 hours while the NSO was looking for me. They've been to my house, they've been everywhere looking for me, and I think they had to threaten the DG or something that I must be produced. So my uncle came. He's a barrack boy, so he was a colonel in the army, and said, look, let's go and see somebody. They talked to somebody and said, no, we're not going to do anything with him. We just want to interview him and all of that. In any case, I ended up spending 30 days in detention. And who knows whether I was part of it. No coup succeeds without the broadcaster showing them how it was.
So what happened?
I wrote 1,000,001 statements, and they will wake you up at 2 a.m. and give you a story, a scenario that you have written before, and ask you to start writing the story from there on. What happened after that place? And, you know. And I had, I think, 2 minders from the NSO. It was very interesting. They just come in all the time. They come and play with me. I won't mention where I was detained. And I was in there for 1 month, writing statements every day. Every day, in the middle of night. They just come early in the morning. By the way, it's the police and our security agents, I got to learn something then. There is nobody that cannot be found when the police wants to do their work. My girlfriend's houses,
We checked you out everywhere.
My goodness. So when these guys were telling me, oh, we've been to Kemi's house, my goodness, how did you know that? Oh, we've been to Chizoba's place, you were not there. We were looking for you all over the place, and every of the girls I went out with in those days, they had gone to check me out there. How they know? It means somebody is watching us everywhere. There's been Big Brother before Big Brother. In any case, that was my story of how I became senior service.
And you got a presidential handshake?
Yes. I foiled a coup, which has never been done.
Who would have been overthrown at that time?
It was the very first coup against the Shehu Shagari, the civilian government of Shehu Shagari, that came on in 1979. And it was about the same time that they were talking about 2.8 billion missing from an account that was found in Midland Bank in London. Because part of the statement of the soldiers, what they wrote and what they read out that didn't go on air, that we are this corrupt government of the NPN and the show of shame of 2.8 billion celebration with champagne and all of that was part of their grouse, where they wanted to take over the government. It was actually a big coup, but I remember being told to keep it quiet. You know, official secret act, you can't say anything until after 25 years and all those silly things they say to you in those days. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the detention as well.
When you look at the walking stock that we hear today,
yes. Can you imagine 2.8 billion was what they were going to take over government for? Today, that is something that is found in somebody's cabinet. So those, when you hear the trend of how bad our money had become, it's frightening. And I remembered, that's when they asked me, it was a period where members of the Green Eagles of Nigeria, Segun Odegbami, all of those people who, I can't remember which cup they won. I think it was Africa Cup of Nations. Yeah. And they were given houses and cars. And they were going to give me a house and car. And I said, no, I don't want house. I don't want car. I just want a scholarship to get out of this country and go and study. But that never came. I did it all on my own.
So let's look at some of your colleagues, the people you worked with at Martin Street. By the way, when was the last time you visited 45 Martin Street?
Very recently, when there was the unfortunate incident of fire that gutted the building, 2 buildings away from Martin Street. The next building, actually, which was 43 Martin Street. Fire gutted the place, and members of the board, Director General, with members of the board of FRCN came to see the place. And they were talking about it as, oh yeah, it's a Radio Nigeria property. And I had to say to one of them that I worked here. And I went there out of the sentimental and emotional attachment to 45 Martin Street. I was not part of the committee to go there, but just to see what that place had become. The fire did a lot of harm to that property. That was a prime property belonging to Radio Nigeria, and it became a marketplace. When we were transferred to Martin Street, myself, Phil, and when suddenly Martin Street was depleted, Bode Seriki had just left. We had 2 other people who left there. So there were only 3 announcers left on Martin Street. So they're looking for who will be mad enough to join that gang. So I was the first person that was railroaded to Martin Street from the national station. And I was saying to the DJ that I worked here. So he quickly called the attention of the chairman of the board that, oh, we saw somebody, so we still have somebody who had worked here. And chairman of the board said, oh, really? Show us the way. I'm going to the old man. So we went through the floors, and I was telling them this is where the library was, these are all the offices, this is the newsroom, up till the studio. Then we went on the roof as well, which was I mean, the nostalgia was too much for me. Seeing what had become of that place, I cried. It was pretty emotional. It was very, very emotional for me to see what Martin Street had become. Like I said, it's a prime property for Radio Nigeria. Some people have been working so hard in Radio Nigeria properties as well, you know, and rented out the place for shops and, you know, as warehouse. And when this fire came, some people even claimed to have owned the building. So, in short, it was like there was nothing to show that that building belongs to Radio Nigeria. It was the most famous building on Lagos CBD, the Central Business Center, aside from the Stock Exchange building. RN2, Radio Nigeria 2, was the most famous building on 45 Martin Street after the Stock Exchange, not even the Central Bank building. So we looked at it, we saw the fire. This was a couple of months ago, and I left the place, and I just didn't want to see it again. That was the last time. That was the last time I was there, some 6 months or so ago.
So how many of your colleagues do you remember? Can you recollect the people that you worked with?
Oh, let me start with the very senior ones. Banke Ademola, Princess Banke Ademola was the people we worked with. Okay. Willie Egbe, late. Jones Hussein. Forever Jones. There was Phil O'Shea, Tunji Babatunde, Kuala, there was Tokumbo Yenride. We had people who came from outside to jazz up the place, Patrick O'Kay, you know, and pop around the world every Saturday. We had Manny Onimono, we had Eli Obasi, who presented Martin Street Special, a program which one of our directors at that time, Chief Sanyaoyin, said, no, I don't want somebody from outside to do it. You are a Martin, so you must do a Martin Street Special. And I thought, look, how am I going to get all those things they talk about? They are news people, so they can afford to do that. And he forced me into it, and I did a few of that until it became almost inevitable that I couldn't be doing that and be running shift as well. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. We had Furo Amaso among the girls that worked with us. Furo was the very first girl we had. Before Ilemi Okoka came, we had Tony Ogunsanwo, Ndidi Osaka, who else? Wonderful people. It was a full house of mad people. Why do I use the word mad people? We were the market people. We started then, our big boss was Ikenna Ndaguba. Ikenna was sent to oversee 45 Martin Street. So he tried to change himself from the rigidity of the national to a funkified Oga, and it was tough. But again, every now and again, when he comes on with us, you know, we jive, we say the thing, and he still spoke like a boss, like the Oga of National, and it was pretty difficult, but he enjoyed the place. We were the market people. We were the voice of the market. 45 Martin Street had been the commercial service of Radio Nigeria. That was where the commercial people were, where you had people like Fola Meadows, Baba Miliki, quite a number of people. Tony Bebuna eventually joined the commercial service as well. They were the ones who did the marketing. But when we started broadcasting from there, we went out and brought people from the store, from their stalls. Look, I can help you promote your market. Just give me some whatever. How much was it? Maybe it was 5 naira. And I promote your market for you. 5 naira. You just talk about my store. Yeah, so everybody, money kept coming in. At a stage, 45 Martin Street fed Radio Nigeria. In those days when they couldn't pay salaries, we were making money for Radio Nigeria. And it's on record. The marketing department was everything. And can somebody just read this thing off? Copy. Yeah, just press it. Thank you. Yeah. So our salaries came from 45 Martin Street. People in their stores came to us, and we had 5 naira, 20 slots, and like that, you know, we will make money. The marketing people will make money. People selling lace will come and let's just mention my name, just mention my store, and it meant a lot to them. We introduced physical radio marketing, radio commercialization. That was what RM2 did. Then you started seeing people that will come, all the agencies will come and talk their big grammar, but we had all the small stalls coming, the Zax snaps, just selling snacks and beer round the corner, and we're giving a mention, and it was just 10 naira. And people flood them. You in the car park, people who are selling rice and beans just want to be heard. You know, then we again went a little higher. We started taking voices of, you tell me what you do. You know, I'll go to Kalu, he will tell me what his market is, where he is situated in Balogun area, and all of those. We were doing that. The interaction with the market was magnetic, and it just afforded Radio Nigeria unbelievable. I mean, our bosses were just flowing in this thing.
All right, wonderful experience, of course, that you've shared. So, for those young persons who are watching, of course, many will go back to take a look at this video all over again. What should they have at the back of their minds if they want to succeed as broadcast journalists?
Absolute presence of mind and knowledge, and I repeat again, knowledge is found in books, not Facebook, even though we're on Facebook. Knowledge, yes, Wikipedia will give you stuff to work with, but truly, books was what made us what we are. We read a lot, and we read everything. Jones introduced me to Reader's Digest. We used to go to the marina on Quayside to buy very old Reader's Digest, and that was where we used on radio tidbits from Reader's Digest on radio for teasers and stuffs like that. So if you are not reading, you are not going to have that captive audience to learn something from you. What is our job? To inform, to educate. Entertainment comes last. So that aspect of informing, educating, and entertaining just don't come easy. It's beyond playing music or turning on the telephone. In fact, when we were the first to introduce telephone conversation. It was only meant for a request in those days. Nobody likes the telephone. And people will call you on the telephone and say, oh, yes, this is Lagos Mortuary. And they'll quickly bang the phone. Mortuary care. I called the studio and I said, yeah, this is Lagos Mortuary. It shows you how people are so frightened to want to die. Never mind. Nobody walks into the mortuary themselves. They always carry it there. And the same for Ikoyi. They always carry you there. Other people will carry you there and leave you there. So this is the case. So we didn't take too much of telephone. We didn't do much with the telephone because people read and were informed.
And you had content.
And we had content to play with. You were overloaded with what to discuss. And conversation, when you have to open the telephone line and have a conversation with people, was intellectual. It wasn't just people telling you about what government did in newspaper. If we were doing what we did now, that in those days, somebody would have killed us, because we had the leverage to talk to people and not necessarily talking down at them, but teach them, my friend, that is not how to think. It behoves on you to get your constituency representative to be responsible to you. And people responded. Because the people that will telephone us, it's not these days that everybody's got a phone, are those who could afford to have the dial phone at home. Those are the people that call. The likes of MKO Abiola will call the studio to ask. You just ask a question. Can you give me the answer? Say, sorry, sir, you want to win my CD. You have to wait until Tuesday to get the answer. I did that. Speaking to Chief MKO Abiola, he wanted to know what is the answer to a question I just asked. He was in the bathroom when he heard it. And he came to say, my boy, what's the answer to that question? A man who has everything, what can you give him? And I said to Chief, you will have to wait until Tuesday, sir, to know the answer. That held Nigeria for 1 week, I dare say.
There was so much power and influence.
That was the power of radio. Everybody in Concord at that time was made to go and look for that answer. I found it in Reader's Digest. What do you give to a man who has everything? You say love, you can buy love. Whether he's going to be happy with it is another question. He has all the money. And Chief wanted to know, what do you give to that kind of a man? Those are the kind of people that called into your show. No. We had the likes of Major General Tunde Ediagbon calling the studio to say, you got that wrong. That was not what the government is saying. And you hear the likes of Jones said, sir, Your Excellency, sir, but I will challenge the man. The little us, too, we have people in government. I remember Bola Omudashiru calling to give us a correct what was going on, aside from what we had read in the news, because our news people was wrong. And Ladi Lawal, God rest his soul, came up and said, no, the governor was wrong. Those are the kind of people. So today, when you hear people on air, they are least unprepared. They're so unprepared. It's unbelievable. Because everybody, it's their friends that will call them, and that's what they're waiting for.
So what do you think about training for professionals in business?
There is the...
practitioners.
It's better, for practitioners. There should be something that we do in the law called CBD. In legal practice, there's continuous development of the practice of professionals, and that was what I was working towards when I came back the second time round. That they took me away from research and development into becoming the general manager of the same metro station, RN2, that gravitated into metro. Continuous development is what will save our industry, because people are just looking for fame, stardom. Once you're on radio, you're a star. Once you're on television, you're a star. And it was very quick for them to forget. And you'll find that what the NBA, or the National Broadcast Academy, is doing now, they're still trying. But it was one of those things that I came home to let them know that it is needed for every practitioner to have a break of 2 weeks for a continuous development, because we forget so quickly, because of the vanities of our job. Our job gives you fame very quickly, but it gets into our heads and we forget the ethical standards that we were supposed to maintain. And when I wrote all those things, I'm sure I still have it somewhere, and gave it to the Director General at the time. He just said, Seyi, you're coming in to do this. And that was why I came in the second time.
The second coming.
My second coming, yes. So I used to travel all the zones, go to Abuja. Various zones will bring people together, Ibadan, all the stations, and we go through all of those things we used to know as a baby broadcaster, because those are the rudiments that keep you doing what is right. Today, you can't even ask those that call themselves old people's pass, AOPs. What are these rudiments? And they start telling you something, raising the shoulders and twirling and becoming an American that has never seen the airport and stuff like that. It's so unfortunate that people forget very quickly. And the zeal for the job. I have never known anybody who worked in broadcast industry that will say, I don't do nights because my husband didn't like it. And I used to say to my staff that when that your husband was courting you, he used to come and pick you up here at past midnight, at 1 o'clock. And it was fun for the man. Suddenly you became his wife. Now it's no longer fun for him to do nights. If he loves you, he will come and wait for you until you close and take you home.
Those are some of the things, of course, that I put together in a book.
Yes. How did we get here? It's a subject that brings tears to our minds, because today we are on social media, and this is going to be viewed all over the world. How did we get here? We were the best. When I got to England, and you go to court, and people did not believe that I was a Nigerian. You have judges, colleagues who will say, "Oh, where did you go to school? You must be a public school boy." And I don't know. My public school was in Obalende, was in Tokumba. I grew up in Pokwaguda. And oh, come on.
What is that?
They never believed that I was a Nigerian. When I was in the US, I milked the system because people love to hear me speak. When I go into a restaurant, they will attend to me first before they attend to an American because of the way I spoke. I learned that in Nigeria, not in the US, not in England. I am a real damn right Barack boy. To speak like this, it was this same NBA that people go to today. That was where I went through. We had a language lab. And that's the pain of the business today, because there is nowhere language labs subsist.
Well, there are so many misconceptions, of course, with very young broadcasters. We take a look at the book, maybe we flip to page 6. That's where we have the glossary. I'd like you to look at some of these things, because for presenters, there are some things that we think are giving and famous. If you take a look at that, are you there?
Page 6 is content.
Yes, that's the content.
The content,
so
yeah.
You take a look at some of those things that young presenters.
Oh, I'm very famous. Oh, yes. I'm a brand. Oh, yes. I like this. This is the best one. I'm a brand. I start wondering. Somebody who just came in less than 2 years in the business will tell you he's a brand. For God's sake, what they taught you in media school about branding, put yourself into it and tell me you're a brand because you're on this one station and you say you're a brand. That's the vanity I'm talking about. Yes, the show must go on. But how many of us have the right content to keep the show going? That's not branding. Most of us don't even understand what branding is. Go and talk to Lulu Akinwumi, Vera, who is our director of marketing, Hebuzo. Now Shokoya. And many of them, so many. And my people will tell me, you know, this, I mean, you don't change this, Oga. I mean, we're a brand. Eh? Okay. Me, I know sabi the cockability and I didn't go to media school. But indeed, you have touched on most of those things. Who needs a script? Let me tell you a story. I once was invited to Dordon Barracks, and I would have been shot on that day if guns were carried into chambers. The only thing that saved me was because I had a script. And this is what I tell my students. You must always have a script. The story was one of our directors of then, she was still a producer, Boma Kaliwo. Both of us lived in Festac. We were going to work. That was then when we used to have odd and even. You go odd days and you go with your colleague on the other day. And the daughter said, "Mommy, buy me a agbalumo." While Boma was still thinking, is agbalumo in season or not, or things like that. And I remember, and I said, "Why I may have seen agbalumo." And this lady, now a mother, she was probably 4-year-old then. Yes, asked the mom, "Mommy, or has government banned agbalumo?" That was the days of ban this, ban that. So I went on air, bam, Jay, this is content for me. If a 3-year-old can understand why government has done, ban this, ban that, and we adults are complaining and under our breath looking for something else. So I was going to use that to bloom and support the campaign for banning of this and that. I went on air after 10 o'clock news. Bam, 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 bam. And I came up with this story. 10 minutes later, NSO was in the studio. One person had gone to the DG's office to go and report. We need to take this boy in, and they took me straight in. It was the regime of Idi Agbon and Major General Muhammadu Buhari. I had to kneel down in chambers. So is this small rat that wants to take over this government? This small rat. Pa, pa, like that. And I could never have spoken against this government. I was trying to use this issue of Agbalumo by a 3-year-old. They didn't listen to me. I was kneeling for 2 hours. And they stopped all businesses and asking. This, all they were talking about is the consequences of what you have said. All they heard was, this government has banned Agbalumo. And I said I didn't say that. I insisted I didn't say that because I had a script. 2 hours later, okay, he said he had a script. I think it was AVM, I think it was, Larry Cornier. And Colonel Babangida, I think, at that time, or Brigadier Babangida, that said, okay, he says he has a script. Let them go and bring his script. Producers were standing. It was Esco, Pastor Esco. That was my producer. Esco and somebody. They were standing at the gates with my script. They've been praying for because you go in there, you're not likely to come out. I was taken into the chambers. I knelt right down in the middle. All the big members of the Supreme Military Council were there asking questions. You, this small rat, want to take over this government, that we banned Agbalumo. And I kept on insisting. I did not say, how could I say that? I work for Federal Radio. Sorry?
They brought the script?
When after 2 hours, they went and brought the script. And the script said exactly what I was trying to say to them. Okay. All right, you may go. Get out. That was it. I could have been shot. Again. Because I wouldn't mention them, one of the officers said, Shegea, if I had my pistol here, I would have shot you right there. How could you say such a thing? I said, no, I work for government. And I was trying to propagate what to all the elders that could not get it. That is the essence of script writing. We didn't know it then, but we did what was ethically right. I was in the National Studios. It was after that time that I was taken to RN2 because it was like, this boy will put us in trouble. So let's get him out of here. You know, but it's something people don't do today. They just ad-lib. I had a program until I retired recently. And I always scripted. And they wondered, Oga, all this paper. And I laugh. I don't use laptop. I have laptop, I have phone, I have everything. But that's long years. Because when I want to correct myself, let it be me changing the story. And not me just rambling on. No, it's just not done. Scripts is an essential of this job.
Right. So let's talk about Seyi Martins, the broadcaster and lawyer. Which of these takes more of your time?
I love the law. I love the law a great deal. And I was good at it. When I was leaving, people were asking me, are you going to continue? Are you going to go to law school in Nigeria and get it done and, finalize, do everything and be, And I said, no, I wanted to do something new. I have seen the need for people to be multi-professional. The essence of us being a teacher, because that's what we are. You're instructing people, you're educating people, you're entertaining people. So I wanted to do something like that. I want to study a bit more to be able to teach lawyers. This job as a broadcaster is a joy in me. It's something I keep developing every day. I tell you, the last 25 years of my life, I have never slept beyond 4:30 a.m. because I'm used to waking up early. No matter how late I go to bed, it's only recently in your 60s that I try to take a nap in the afternoon. I love to study. I love to read. I love to teach. Again, I have some passion as well, very unusual passion.
Tell us about it.
I love water. I love water. And I love the experience of a bar. You can be in a bar and life goes on. In my younger days, you don't have to be drunk. In fact, some of us didn't know how to drink, but we just don't get drunk. We didn't know how to drink, but you don't get drunk, no matter what you take, no matter how much. Being in a bar gives you a feel that God loves human beings, or else He won't create entertainment. The joy of listening to sweet Nigerian music. We were the ones on RN2 that destroyed Nigerian music. We didn't play them because they were so very, very poorly produced. Only very few artists produced good music because they paid, they took their time to do it. So by the time we were revolutionizing and we came to say, now Nigerian music has come of age, they're doing good all over the world. We used to talk to record companies. Record companies paid us our salary. And they take this out to improve the quality of it. They relied on some of us as consultants to them. When somebody brings music and the lyrics just don't gel, but all there is to it is just rhythm. In those days, it wouldn't sell. It won't. We had super producers who knew how things should be done. But right now, it's a different ball game. Nigerian music has come of age. I don't even see us playing foreign music. Should we be playing foreign music on any of our stations? And when I came back, my second coming, one of the things I adopted was, come on, it has to be Nigerian. They forced me to stand still. Me too, I know grill, but eventually you look at them, they're young. So they must look for... well, that's what they say is in vogue. I don't know, it hasn't killed us. And they still want to play the foreign stuff and all of that. If you go to Ghana, which is next door, in spite of all the political hullabaloo that's going on, hardly would you hear foreign music on their radio stations. Hardly. Go to Burkina Faso. Togo, those smaller countries, Benin, come right to Central, to South Africa. They know Beyonce exists, and they have their time for Beyonce. But essentially, on all of their radio stations, what you will hear is their own music. Why can't we do that here? Do you know the number of Nigerian jazz musicians that has produced? You hardly hear them on any radio station. And that was what I wanted to do. They forced me to Abuja. Oga, no, your time has passed.
You're old school.
You're old school, like they say it. Yes, I love being old school. Let me remain there. But old school gave birth to what there is today. It is just unfortunate that we don't call them bastards. But hey.
Right, so let's talk about a book from you. Is there something? Are we going to read something from you someday? Because the experience you shared with us now, talking about how you foiled a coup, not everyone had an idea that that happened, except those who have seen this video.
In fact, it became a scoop for Concord newspaper then, because Betty Rabo was with Concord. And that was how the story leaked out. It was one of the finest scoop she ever had. Because it was in Sonny's cupboard that I was sitting for about 3.5 hours, 4 hours. So the following day, Concord newspaper just had it. Coup in broadcasting house and blah, blah, blah. So it was fun. Yes, I will write. Yes, I am writing already. When I wake up, usually about 3:30, anytime from 3, I'm up. I'm conscious. I don't get out of my bed until about 3:30, 4. When I come out, I do my devotion, then get to my writings. And I've started. And this is not the first. I wrote a book before I became a radio person. My first book was Radio Plays for Secondary School. I was only 17, I think. Edited by Cyprian Ekwensi. I used to love drama, and I wrote drama plays. When I was in Enugu, I used to write for Radio Nigeria and ABC. That's the start of my broadcasting life. I wrote radio play, just listening. Then when I came to Lagos, people like Tunde Ayebusi, would use pencil to. In ABC then, I had Eddie Rowe that was editing my script because I wrote in pencil. And one of the stories I wrote, I was trying to get Ndidi to speak the emotion of what was expected. So I went and did that. And Mr. Fokaja, I can't remember his name. He was a director, ABC, Anambra Broadcasting at the time. And what's his name? Okonkwo. It will come. That played Okonkwo. His sons and daughters are now Nollywood. He's a Nollywood personality himself. Edochie, Pete Edochie, Uncle Pete. Just said, who is that voice? I was just trying to tell Ndidi how to portray the character. And Pete was working with Boniface of Okaja. Who is that voice? Seyi. Oh, Seyi. What do you do here? I said, nothing. I just write scripts. You must come and be presenting something for us. And Pete said, that is a trainable voice. And that's the ethical statement. in becoming a broadcaster, you must, it's not what you put here, it's what you are going to put in. You must be trainable. That's why she is where she is today. That's why I am what I am. You must be trainable. So I started from there, got into presenting programs for the young people on TV, joining youth groups on radio and like that. And when my father passed in Enugu, I had to return to Lagos. The only thing I knew was radio. And went to Radio Nigeria, had an audition, and it was amazing. Ikena has never had an audition for one person. And he looked at me and said, I'm not taking you because I knew your auntie or something, but you're very impressive. You're going to join the next class. I had an audition just once. And that was it. Most of my colleagues had been coming on and on and on. You were asking me about my colleagues too. Not that I forgot him. I had it in mind before other question came. JJ was my classmate. We had JJ, Tunde Balogun, Phil O'Shea. Who else was there? We were classmates. Unbelievable guys. Jacob is still who he is today. He just can't leave the radio. You will never see his fine face on television, but he is a consummate radio personality. So those are the young days. That was how we became.
Yeah, so when are we expecting this book?
Well, it's work in progress. Okay. Because in fact, I had my elder brother. There was something I wrote about my mom. Was it my mom? Yeah, it was 40 years after my father passed. I wrote something when we came over from Enugu to Lagos. And my brother called and says, you must put all these things in a book. Right. Not for just Facebook or whatever, eulogizing our dad and those things we did in the barracks and how he used to be, you know, those, you must write it. So it gingered me. And of course, one of my daughters too loved my phrasing when I write and just said, now that you're retired, what are you going to do? First and foremost, before you think about doing anything, go sit down, get on your laptop. I said, buy me another. I can't use this laptop to write a book. But Dad, if it's your phone, you can use your phone to write a book. Just go out and do that. And I get encouragement from everyone around me to tell a story. And that's what I'm going to do.
So we look forward to reading from you. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for having us in your home. And thanks for sharing this wonderful memories.
Ife, it's been wonderful. I remember you in the younger days when I used to come from England and just saw this zeal of enthusiasm in the job. And you don't say you fall in love with women these days that they don't connotate it into something else. But I fell in love with this lady because there was something about her that just up there. So when I saw you gravitating towards all of this after you left, I mean, she would do training, she would do that, and she was just in the parameter of our radio. I'm sure you will go far.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've enjoyed this tremendously, and I hope I've not told too many. Somebody will come and fight me for. It's been wonderful.
Thanks.